Hello there, this is Will Woodgate from Stacks for Stacks, and today I'm going to put together a video about the brand new QuoteSlider stack I've built for RapidWeaver. This is the web page where you can come and find out more information about the QuoteSlider stack. Website address is stacksforstacks.com/QuoteSlider. This web page has all the documentation for the QuoteSlider stack. Got some example markup, an example of the QuoteSlider stack itself here in the middle of the page. And you can also download a free demo version which you can install onto your computer, and if you're happy with the QuoteSlider you can also buy the QuoteSlider stack here on the web page as well. What I'm going to do is switch over to RapidWeaver now, and what I've started to do already is just to build this example website using the Haze RapidWeaver theme. This is from the Theme Flood website. Just a very simple page setup, got some navigation links at the top here, freestyle banner container, content container and a sidebar on this side. What I've done already is to add a stacks page to this project, and I've just put in a styled text stack as you can see here. Once you've installed the QuoteSlider stack, it'll be available from your normal Stack Elements library panel on the side here, and I'm just going to search for QuoteSlider. Here it is here, so just drag and drop a copy of that into your page. So the first time you add a QuoteSlider stack to the page, this is what it would look like. It's just a sort of a grey box. Got an HTML code box in the middle here which contains your actual quote content, and we've just got some example pagination bullets at the bottom here. If I go ahead and preview the page now in RapidWeaver, you can see that our quote slider has been inserted immediately below the banner here and just above the main content region, and by default QuoteSlider is set to advance the slide every 10 seconds, so you just saw how it moved then, and we can actually manually advance through the slides backwards or forwards using pagination bullets. Nice feature of the QuoteSlider stack is the ability to automatically embed it within a theme, freestyle container or an extra content container. That's relatively simple to get set up. What I'll do is I'll just take out the example banner image in the Haze RapidWeaver theme here, and instead what I'm going to do is in the QuoteSlider settings, the embed drop down here, I'm just going to change that to freestyle. With a stack such as QuoteSlider, it'd be desirable straight away to go into the background settings and to turn off the rounded corners and the shadow effect applied around the perimeter of the QuoteSlider stacks, and that's what I'm just going to do here. So you can see now that's just sort of squared up the edge of the QuoteSlider stack. And again, if I go back now and preview in RapidWeaver, we can see that the QuoteSlider stack is now embedded within our freestyle banner container at the top of the page here, and it's still working perfectly fine. It's advancing the slides nicely there. Again, likewise, if you've got a theme which has got extra content containers, you can go ahead and embed your QuoteSlider stack directly within an extra content container here. You can just change the number of the extra content container and the QuoteSlider stack will do the rest for you. We've got the ability to customize where your quote sources are coming from. By default, you've just got an HTML code box in the page here where you can set up your quotes. I'll walk you through the markup in a minute, it's extremely simple. But alternatively, if you want to, you can actually set the quote source to warehoused, which means that your quotes will be coming in via some PHP markup into the page. You can remotely store your quotes, on a different location, different server, so you can update your quotes outside of RapidWeaver. Alternatively, you can actually set up a system so that your client or whatever can go in and edit quotes themselves without having to need to have access to the RapidWeaver file itself. But the HTML markup for QuoteSlider is extremely simple. Basically all we're dealing with is HTML list items. So we just start by typing an opening list item tag, and I'll just say my quote goes here, and then a closing list item tag like so. And then if you want to provide a citation of where the quote has come from, we can just use HTML cite tags. So I'll start with an opening cite tag, and we'll say someone famous 2015, and then a closing cite tag as well. And yeah, it's basically like that. The advantage you've got of using HTML markup, and the reason why I chose this over any other sort of systems, is because of the simplicity you've got of being able to go in now and easily, you can cut quotes out like this. You can change the order they appear in. We can put new quotes in, delete old ones, generally mix the whole thing up really easily. Makes it a lot more simple. And also, for people who want to customize QuoteSlider, being able to access this HTML markup means you can take your creativity a lot further. You put in different types of markup, headings, links, even images. You can do all sorts of basic things. But I mean, for the sake of this example now, if I go back and preview the page, the second quote now is the one I've just typed in, so my quote goes here by someone famous, you see. So it's very simple to get working really. There's nothing to it really. The background of the QuoteSlider stack itself can be extensively customised. This is a very nice feature. The background always remains the same in QuoteSlider. It doesn't actually change with each quote, so you've always got the same static background applied. By default you've got a colour fill applied, but we can change that to either a gradient fill or we can go for an image fill. In the example of the image fill, I'm just going to open the stacks image library here, drag and drop an example image background in like so, and if I go back and preview the page now, you can see how we've got that nice image applied as a background to our QuoteSlider, and the text moves but the title and the background remains the same behind. Nice little trick is there's a fixed background option here. If you tick that, preview the page, the actual background is now fixed on the body background of the page. So when I actually scroll the page now, you'll see that the background actually remains still, it's not moving. Amongst the settings for QuoteSlider, we can turn on controls. This will give us next and previous navigation buttons either side of the QuoteSlider stack. We use font awesome icons to achieve these arrows, simply because font awesome icons are very customisable. They're also compatible retina displays. If I preview the page, you can see now we've actually got these next and previous buttons showing on our slider, which is a nice little feature. Again, just provides another option to view your quotes. QuoteSlider is fully compatible with touch devices such as iPods, iPhones, iPads, things like that. Ordinarily, if you're viewing on one of these touch-based devices and you swipe your finger horizontally, the QuoteSlider will advance to the next quote in the sequence. Also, I should point out, as you'd expect, that QuoteSlider is fully responsive. If I go up here to the responsive controls in RapidWeaver, for example, and switch to iPhone, you can see how our QuoteSlider will adjust to the size of the screen. By default, what will happen, and this is the way QuoteSlider handles this sort of setup, is it will look at the tallest quote you've got and set the slider to that height. But alternatively, there is an option in the settings to go for an adaptive height. This will mean that the QuoteSlider will adjust its height depending on how big the slide is that you're viewing. So if I go ahead and advance now, you can see how the QuoteSlider stack is actually changing height all the time. I've put this in as an option because some people like it, some people don't like it, so I thought it'd be easy just to provide this as a checkbox option in the stack. There's various other settings. I'd certainly recommend that if you're interested in using this stack, that you download the free demo version, because this will give you a really good idea of exactly what the QuoteSlider stack can do, and you can actually play with some example quotes. You can set it up and style it to match your existing RapidWeaver theme or project. The focus of this stack has been to sort of optimise the slider specifically for quote sort of content. As a result, we've got a lot of different settings for adjusting things like text styles, colours, sizing, responsive behaviour, the ability, for example, to toggle the QuoteSlider title on and off if you need it. And as you just saw, we can turn off controls, we can turn off pagination if we don't want it. There's all sorts of different settings available to you, so there's a whole lot to come in and play around with. If you do have any other questions about the QuoteSlider stack, then do feel free to get in contact with me. You can contact me through the Stacks for Stacked website. Just click on the contact button up here at the top right hand side, and that will give you my contact details. Likewise, if you're interested in all the other stacks I provide, just go to stacksforstacks.com, and everything is listed here on the home page in alphabetical order. We sort the stacks by price. We've also got You can sort stacks by keywords, so for example animation, and you can see QuoteSlider stack comes up here in the animation category. So if you've got any questions, then feel free to let me know, and certainly I hope the QuoteSlider stack is of use to you.